How are you all?
All right.
Good. Hello, George. Before I start, I just want to make sure that it's okay if I use the words win a lot and cunt. That's good, because I do have a habit of upsetting people. I want to start off on the right note, particularly you, madam, it's your first comedy gig. And talking of cunts, you may know about this, George, but do you find that everything these days is all about anal? It's as if the vagina's gone out of fashion, isn't it? And I said to a friend of mine, is it true that you can get pregnant from anal sex? And she said, well, of course, Jennifer. Where do you think lawyers come from? I mean, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love sex. If I have sex, it makes my whole day, but you know how it is, George. If you have anal sex, it kind of makes your whole week, you know. Sorry, I promise I won't pick that. But actually, you take it through the mouth, do you? Well, actually, funny enough, I find oral sex is my favourite. But the trouble with that is, George, you just phone bill, it just makes it too high, doesn't it? Yes, actually, at the moment I'm looking for a man because I've lost my husband. Well, I say I lost him, he actually left me. He found me in bed with another man, in the marital bed, and I know you find that quite shocking. And he came in and he said, what do you think you're doing? And I said to the guy I was with, I said, look, see, I told you he was stupid. And yeah, crazy, isn't it? And so what I did, as we all do, when your husband leaves you, when your relationship sits up, I went back to an ex and dated somebody that I hadn't been with for, God, 20 years. And he said to me, Jennifer, you know, he said, when I used to go out with you, he said, all I used to think about was fucking your brains out. And I thought, oh, isn't that lovely? And I said to him, so, you know, what do you think now? And he said, well, I think I did a good job, you know. So, yeah, thank you. And I should have actually listened to my mother. She said, you know, too many cocks spoil the breath. And the thing is, it runs in my family. Because my mother, it's a true story this, she had 4 husbands. And in fact, they all died. And there's a bit of a joke in our family that she killed them off because she really was into sex. And in fact, at her funeral, she, you know, I remember the day well, she was lying there in her coffin. And the vicar came over and he looked at her and he said, oh, isn't it lovely, you know, at last they're together. And my sister said, well, who are you referring to? And he said, well, her legs, of course. Yes, that's how it is. And recently, I mean, they do say if you want a committed man, one should look in a mental hospital. It's true, but, well, miss that out altogether and just do internet dating. And find them there, darling. Honestly, it's an absolute nightmare. And I tried some internet dating. And I can't believe it. What is it when a man, oh goodness, don't, I'm not that bad. Nice. I've had those ones as well, the suicide ones. Nightmare. But what is it with a man when they write GSOH? I mean, darling, if you've got a good sense of humour, you'd write something funny. Right? And on these dating sites, you know, you get people who put pictures of themselves 20 years out of date. As if you're going to go on the date and not notice. You know, and how crazy is that? And then you get a guy, you know, typical sort of thing, he says, oh, I'm mid-40s, active, you know, no, 55, on Viagra, darling, looking for a 25-year-old. And if a guy says he's sensitive, no, he's not sensitive, George, if he's got, George, you're listening to me, darling. George, if he's got his cock in your mouth, or your mouth, indeed, well, anyone's mouth.
She needs to know where to go to the toilet.
Oh, okay, darling, you're not chatting her up. I mean, you know, carry on, don't mind me. And if he's got his cock in your mouth, then, George, would you like to come up here and carry on? I mean, why is it George Michael anyway?
You picked on me. There you go.
No, I was wondering why you called yourself George Michael. Are you one of these sort of celeb people that, you
No,
know,
my
you
mum
kind of...
had like the one bar, so...
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Right, okay, well, you know, thanks for fucking up my set. I'll sort you out later, darling.
You picked on me, there you go.
That's true, I did actually. Yeah, so we're quits, aren't we? We're quits, George. God, he's going to get a fucking hiding later. Anyway, so recently I went out on a date, and I said to this man, you know, why are you dating? And he said, well, my wife left me. And I said, well, that's rather sad. Why did she leave you? And he said, well, I couldn't have children. And I said, well, that's a bit harsh to leave you because of that. Didn't you have any tests? And he said, well, I did. I went along to the doctors and I got a specimen pot. And I went home and I used my right hand and then my left hand, and then my wife used her right hand and then her mouth. And I thought, well, you know, TMI, darling, too much information. And then he said, he asked his friend to try. And I said, you asked your friend to try? And he said, yes. He said, I took back the pot to the doctor empty. And I said, well, what did the doctor say? And he said, well, I said to the doctor, none of us could get the lid off. And then I went out with another guy, and he said, well, look, I know you've had disastrous relationships, but, you know, I know how to drive a woman wild in bed, I really do. And he said, I tried covering them in rose petals. And I said, well, look, darling, I'm not a lawn, you know. And then he said, well, you know, a nice, sensuous, oily massage. And I thought, well, OK, that sounds a bit better. And he said, no, but I really do have it. What drives a woman really wild in bed is when you wipe your cock on her curtains. And I'll just finish here. Recently I've been watching some porn, and I guess with porn, at least you know in the morning you're going to just wake up with your keyboard, so it's fairly... Yeah, but I was watching this site, couldn't believe it. There was a man and a woman, and the man was scooping Winalot onto this woman's vagina. Honestly, it's incredible, isn't it? And yeah, I know you're shocked because I'm rather posh. And we posh people have sex too, you know. And then along came a dog and started licking it off. Yes. And he said yes. And do you know what I thought? I thought, you lazy cunt. Anyway, I've been Jennifer Smith. Thank you.
Folks, Jennifer Smith there. I've got to say, that was good. I like this. There's a good atmosphere in this room. I like it.